All right, so we're backstage with Schamet, and we're going to be speaking about feminine anger, women's anger, the goddess Sekhmet. Where do we want to begin with this, Schamet?
Yeah, this is a big topic as well, and I'm so glad that you're doing this with me, Rose, because sacred fire and anger is something that gets suppressed a lot, especially with women, mothers, yoga teachers, spiritual people. It's not meant to be expressed. And so what happens is it gets pushed down. And what happens when something gets pushed down and pushed down and pushed down, it's like one day the volcano will erupt. And I think it's a really important topic to talk about. For me, when I connected in with Sekhmet, the goddess Sekhmet, she's the goddess of music, dance, love, joy, sensuality, sexuality, but she's also, the goddess of destroying evil. Like, she's the destroyer of evil. So she's also pretty badass, She's like, you don't mess with the lioness. Like, she's very fierce. And, the story of Sekhmet is I think it was Ra that sent her down to destroy evil on Earth. And she went on a killing spree because she just found so much evil everywhere, to the point that she was going to wipe out the human race. And the gods they got her drunk on beer. They put pomegranate juice in the beer to get her drunk so that she would stop killing everyone, because she was just going to wipe out the human race, And when I heard that story of Sekhmet, I was like, oh, I so identify with that, because I am personally, a goddess of love and music and dance and sensuality and sexuality, but I can also see into the shadow of humanity. And so I can see how, Sekhmet almost wiped out the human race. Because, I can see that side. I mostly choose to put my rose-colored glasses on and see the bright side of life, the happy side of life, and focus on the positive. Like, I'm a very positive person. However, the shadow side of humanity and what we're doing to this planet, what we're doing to each other, really, really pisses me off. So I think it's important to acknowledge our sacred fire. It's important to acknowledge our anger, because not only do we have the right to that, to our feelings, but anger is a beautiful force. It's a powerful force. And when that's channeled, that sacred fire can move mountains, Yeah. It can be the very thing that activates and changes the world. And so we don't want to get rid of anger. We want to befriend anger. We want to channel that rage, that fire, right? We want to, I have gotten so angry sometimes. I'm so angry that I just clean the house, and boy, do I get things done. It's like, like a whirling dervish through the house, and the house is just clean. And I'm like, whew, it's the way that we channel that sacred fire that's really important.
Yes. Yeah. The suppression of the fire has a it has a continuum and begins in a very ancient time. And feminine anger and the fierceness of Sekhmet, when I really connect into that in my womb, I hear the echoes of our ancestral mothers and what has been suppressed within the global sisterhood. And then, of course, deeply complicated and further suppressed by a spiritual paradigm that has been built on bypassing the depths of not only the human spirit, and so therefore the human potential. So you just bypass it. So I see the fierceness. To me, Sekhmet, when she turns up, she's an initiator for me. And she helps us to retrieve and get into contact with some really fundamental emotion that we have carried. Our mothers carried the suppression of their anger. Our grandmothers have carried the suppression of the rage, the suppression of the womb, and the interference into the initiation of our fire and our anger. Because once we get in touch with it and we begin to transmute it and use it, use the power of our anger as the sacred witness to the misshapen and dysfunctional structures that have been created on the planet. No longer suppressing that, but allow it to be the sacred witness of what has happened here, And then you see that pathway. To me, this is where I believe, my opinion is, where the spiritual paradigm just is not going to work for us anymore. Yeah. And we are in this deconstruction of that paradigm. Because for me, working with Sekhmet and my rage and my fire as the feminine, I have got to raise anger to passion.
Yes.
And passion to compassion. And this is a pathway many of us are denied because the anger is shut down. But it is a path of illumination. It is a path of illumination to check in on your anger and witness the state of your being and what you are carrying emotionally, and how now we're not afraid to look, because we have the healers now that are frontlining the new paradigm. We have the transformational leaders now that are frontlining the new paradigm. And we have the teachers that are holding us and showing us how to go deep. Because the human spirit is calling for it. And I believe that is our fire and that is our anger. We're going to change it. Yeah. So I welcome Sekhmet. I welcome her and her initiatory power of that path of illumination.
Yeah, thank you, Rose. I love that so much. Yeah, so true. Because when we shut that anger down, we lose our passion. Not only does it create a blockage in our chakras and our energy, but it disconnects us from our passion, from our purpose. Anger is such a beautiful, beautiful energy. And I welcome it now. It is about having the tools to learn how to channel it properly, of course. Yeah, it's a potent, it's a potent,
so potent.
Yeah, and powerful energy. Yes. And so that, I think, you know, that's part of it, is people are afraid of how fire can burn down a whole forest, you know? So it is a powerful, powerful energy. But just like with every energy, we need to be learning the skills and the tools to be able to transform, you know, that fire, that sacred fire, into our passion, and that passion into our purpose. And
love that.
Yeah. Love that too. Yeah. I remember in the yoga community, I have this t-shirt, and it's got, you know, someone meditating, and they've got the chakras, and it says, I'm love, peace, and happiness, and a little bit of go F-U-C-K yourself. I loved it. I was like, oh my God, I love this t-shirt. I got it, and I got one for a couple friends, and I was like, yeah, that's so me. And I actually had people in the yoga world like frown down upon that, on that shirt, to the point that I then took that energy on, and I was like, oh God, is there something wrong with me that I like this t-shirt? And, you know, and it was a whole process that I went through. I wear that t-shirt now because, you know, it's like embracing the part of us that needs boundaries. Of course, I'm not saying go and tell someone to go F off. I'm not saying that, but it's about having boundaries and being able to really be who you are, speak your truth, but also have that boundary where it needs to be. And that's part of honoring the sacred fire. And the other thing is there's so much judgment in the spiritual community. And Rose, I would love it if you spoke a little bit about that, because I see you as a change agent and a paradigm buster as well. And, you know, you and I have had these conversations. That's why I wanted you to come on with me, is that it feels like part of that old spiritual paradigm is shutting down and being very judgmental of, oh, you must not be spiritually evolved if you have anger or you have grief. Like you're not high enough.
Yeah.
No, all that.
Yeah, like you're not supposed to get sick if you're spiritual.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to get sick. Whereas, excuse me, I believe that, you know, the body tells the story, holds the codex. And when the etherics are in their evolution, there is a transfiguration that happens in the body. And we can get sick as we come into our new codexes and frequencies. So for me, you know, I've just reached the point where I've just brought in my own culture. And to me, everybody's got their own culture. But I do need to, I've got to mention Joanna Lindenbaum here, because I had an incredible breakthrough with her. Just the witness of you know, when you just, somebody says it to you, you know it already, but it takes somebody that can see you and that can hear you to say it to you. And Joanna told me many things can sit together. Many things can sit together. I consider that all elemental, you see. And this is where I see the fear in the old spiritual paradigm of our potential, you know. And, you know, I've got certain thoughts about who's really calling themselves teachers, and who is the teacher, who really is the teacher. You know, I've got conversations about the power relationship. I've got conversations about establishing yourself as guru. Who's really the guru? So, you know, we're coming with a lot of challenges to a lot of practitioners. I want to say that we want to do this in the utmost love, but there is an opening and there is a change, and the paradigm is being deconstructed. It's happening. So instead of filling the lifeboat in the emergency, why not open to the possibility that you don't need to be in a power relationship, that there has been a lot of spiritual appropriation. We've got to fuss up about these things. Yeah, we've got to be willing to be in the conversation. And this is our collective effort towards the renewal and restoration of the human spirit that we need for this new Earth star. All right. So I loved what you said about it. It is about me because it's about everybody. So, you know, we're not interested in leaving people behind, but what we are saying is, if you cannot hear the call of the human spirit to dive into the shadow so that life on this planet can be understood, if you're not hearing that, then we need to be talking, we need to be gathering, and we need to be sharing the essence of the information. It's not enough, you know. And you know, when you said about being blacklisted and shut out, and yeah, I join you with that, priestess, but I don't mind because I got my own culture.
Yeah.
I got my own culture, so I don't mind. And this is where I see the liberation and the emancipation for new wave and new earth practitioners now. Culture, community, spread the codes, encourage other people to have their codes. Don't rely on me to, I tell everybody that comes through my lodge, I am not your teacher.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not your savior. Listen, I know the kind of projection that can come from somebody.
Yeah.
Right? You know, when you're declaring yourself somebody's teacher, especially in the spiritual matters, in the medicine matters, you know, so much I can say about shamanic practitioners, the rights of indigenous ways, yeah, how blood lineage is not really accepted. The teacher lineage is accepted and glorified in the old sacred, old spiritual paradigm, but the blood lineage of the healer or whoever it is not respected. I'm a third generation. And how that gets looked over, this is why, I mean, I'm not comparing my experience at all to the First Nation brothers and sisters, but I get them, I get it.
Yeah.
You know, I really, really get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I get that feeling. I understand that pain. I understand that injustice and quite frankly, a betrayal.
Yeah.
So who's willing to talk about it? That's what I'm saying. Who's really willing to go there?
Well, I
That's
am.
what I'm saying.
I am.
I know.
It needs
I
to
think
be.
you are, and I think many of the contributors to this summit, you know, yes, look, we got to face it. Old spiritual paradigm, have to face it.
Yeah.
We are in the thrust of a mighty human evolution. Our responsibility is to set ourselves free to take that journey and to not create obstacles for anybody else in their own journey. Oh, you know I can go on about this.
Yeah,
you know I can.
I know. Love it. Thank you so much. I was hoping that you would bring that up. So thank you. This is part of it, you know. Thank you so much, Rose. You know, we need to be able to honor and really hear people's anger, right? Because you have every right to your emotions and to your feelings, and so does everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that,
and so I was just going to add to that. To that, I want to add that sovereignty is on the table. And I absolutely want to, and I do exercise my fundamental freedom, the right to my voice, the right to my opinion, the right to my culture, the right to my spiritual pathway, my outlook, all of it. I'm claiming my fundamental freedom, but do you know what, Schamet? It does not mean a thing. It is all a pious dream if I don't wish the same for every other person. If my commitment to my own does not match that of for every other person, that's all pious. And it's these essences that the old spiritual paradigm, it doesn't want anybody calling it out. They don't want to be called out, that energy right there. But we're here and we have seen the scheme. Many, 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 many of us have seen the scheme and we are calling it out. Yeah. And that is going to have an impact. We want it to have an impact where we can come together and do the work. Yeah. That's what we really want, so that we can go on this evolutionary journey together. Mm-hmm. But it is a transition. And I just send all my love to all of those that are sat within certain situations that have some really deep questions about what you're doing now, who you're sitting under now. Is this right for you now? I'm sending you all of my love, that you will uncover your own wisdom and trust yourself, love yourself, and just think about not betraying yourself.
Thank you. Yeah. And my message to all of you that are listening is honor your anger. You know, listen to what it has to say. Don't ignore it. You know, do what you can to acknowledge, see, feel, and love your anger, your rage. I remember I was reading a book it's actually called Witch, and I highly recommend it. It's got a black cover, and I was reading that, this is several years ago, and I got so angry. I actually had to put the book down for a little while. I'm like, I'll get back to you. Like, that's important too, is to know your limits, you know, and, yeah. And I ended up, you know, getting back to it when I was ready. And that's the other part of, you know, really having the support around you, you know, a good girlfriend or a boyfriend, you know, someone that you can talk to, you can allow that energy to come out. Just want to share a couple tools real quick with dealing with anger before we go. So you can do a write and burn. You write it all down, and I mean everything, cuss words, all of it. Just let it all, you know, throw up on paper, and don't think about it. Just let it come out. Just write it down. You know, you can be so angry that, you know, there's holes in the paper. Just let it all out and then burn it, you know, and keep doing that to, you know, to just start to release some of that energy. You know, write that letter to that family member that you know that you can't actually say all this to. Just write it all down. Go for, you know, angry stomps in the forest. And my friend Carrie's the one that taught me about that, is just go to the forest and stomp like a little child. You know, you see kids and they just know how to express their anger so well. They'll have tantrums on the, you know, in the grocery store. And of course, as adults, we can't do that, but we certainly can go to the forest and have a bit of a release. And that's really healthy, much better than taking it out on some innocent person or the dog or, you know, whoever. You don't want to be putting that on someone else like that. Then that's the part of anger that's not good and is unhealthy, is when you discharge or I think it's called transference, isn't it? I'm not sure what the word is, but putting that on someone else is not healthy. So you want to do what you can to manage your anger. That's why I had to put the book down for a little bit and come back to it. And, you know, having a good therapist, either a healer or a therapist or someone, a coach that you can talk to about what you're going through. But, you know, that anger, like Rose was saying, it can help you tap into your passion. Like maybe you're really angry about what's going on the planet, with the Amazon being destroyed. And maybe that anger is in you enough to get you to do something about it and create some change, which is what we need, right? That passion to purpose. So, you know, love your anger, befriend your anger. Yeah. Do you want to say any last and final words, Rose?
Oh, just thank you for the skills and the tips. I really love the burning.
Yeah.
And I think the last thing that I would say is to honor the anger.
Yeah.
Honor it, you know. It's a real experience in our being. It's there for a reason. It's there to open us. It teaches us self-responsibility, which is what you're saying about the discharging and the transference and the externalization. And really call in the honor of the anger, so you temper it, so you can still keep loving and not causing the difficulty in the relationship because you're not composed and you're not managed. So that's why we have to honor it by releasing it, and allowing it to point you in your creative direction, all the messages that it has for you. So peace and love, you know, honor the anger, honor yourself, allegiance to self, love of self, compassion of self.
I love Rose.
Ashe.
I love Rose that you said that passion that gets transformed into compassion as well.
Yeah.
That's been my journey. And it's powerful. Thank you so much.